All right, so we are going to scan a transtibial patient using the OWW software. So first thing we want to do is go to the desktop, find the Omega icon, double click using the left mouse, go to Add Patient, left click that, open up the window with the patient information and go to Patient, and I simply type in the patient name, in this case I'm going to use PM1, or excuse me, PM11. This is a female patient, birth date of 01, and the year of birth, 1997. And I use the patient ID is the same. Patient model 1 or 11 in this case. Oops. And then hit left click create. So we're going to go down to transtibial. We have all these different options, transfemoral, transtibial, and this patient model is a right. Left click save, and then a new window opens up, and we want to left click the socket option. It will take us to a new window, and in here, because we're going to be scanning the patient, we want to go to scan shape. We left click this down arrow, and we have two options. We can either import an STL file or scan a shape. In this case, we want to scan. Here now we have a bunch of options. We're going to go to the first option, which is scan settings. Go to the down arrow, and we can select the different lighting options. So if we're in a dark room, medium light room, or light option, we're going to select medium light in this room. Go down to the next option, which is to scan a shape. Left click that, and now we're ready to scan. So I've taken the liberty of adding all the dots. Now with Willowood, they have many different scanners available today. We currently use the laser scanner, which it's my understanding that the laser scanner is actually one of the more accurate scanners, and I've taken the liberty of adding the majority of the dots. And there's a number of different strategies that can be used with these reflective dots. What I like to do is go a few inches above the patella tendon and the patella so that I can capture that much of the residual limb. You want to be about 1 inch to 1.5 inches apart with the dots. Use only as many as you need, and I like to place the dots on bony landmarks, head of the fibula, the distal end of the residual limb or the cut end of the bone. I like to place them across the patella tendon bar, and again about 1 inch to 1.5 inches apart, and just kind of randomly throughout the residual limb. So I'm again placing them 1 inch to 1.5 inches throughout and all the way around the residual limb. And again, anywhere else that there's a area of interest from a bony landmark standpoint. It would appear as though I have the residual limb covered as I need to. So I'm going to take my scanner now. I need to stay and remain at least 12 inches away. There are audio prompts that you can use. I have it turned off for this demonstration. But again, if you get too close, it will make a sound. And if you get too far away, it will again prompt you with an audio sound. So the other nice thing about this system is it will give you a crosshair in a red color with the laser that you can use and follow. I like to use the crosshair and make sure I literally hit every one of these white reflectors. So as I'm scanning, we're going to initially show you the scanning process, and then we're going to move the camera to the actual computer screen so that you can see what we're doing there. I'm going to ask my patient to hold her limb in about a 15-degree angle so that all the skeletal anatomy shows up as clearly as possible. And this should take somewhere between 4 and 7 minutes to complete so that we can capture the entire residual limb. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to start at the patella tendon bar and simply hold and make sure that I'm laying down material that we're going to show you in just a few minutes. And work slowly. This is not a race. And I can see in the background the computer monitor. So I'm going to kind of work in an up and down fashion and go back and forth. So one of the really nice features to their system is you can go over areas without adding additional layers of scanned material. So a lot of these systems consider this to be like spray painting. And if you go over too many times, that's a negative, but with this system, it's not. Make sure I get to the distal end. And again, I can see the crosshair on patient's residual limb, getting a little too close. I can switch hands. Again, if I feel like I'm not laying material down, I can go back to where I started, and the computer will reset and lay down material. Now you can see that big crosshair that I'm on the lateral side of the residual limb. But again, if it doesn't appear as though you're actually getting good scanning, go back to where you started. Again, you can usually hear this from an audio sense, but I have it turned off so that we don't hear that constant chiming sound or kind of buzzing sound. Again, I'm going to go back. So why don't we turn the camera to the monitor if we haven't already. And our goal is to get the entire limb scanned. By hitting every one of these reflectors if possible. This is usually very quick and very painless to the patient. That's looking pretty good. Oops, I lost my grip. I'm going to go back to where I started, reset things, but I believe I have all the data that I need, so I'm going to stop. So at this point, we can inspect the shape. It's going to go to a different area within this software, and here's where we want to orient our model. And you can see I have part of the exam table. So if I right click, I can zoom this out, left click, and I can spin this around. And it's very important to get this oriented in the anterior position. Right click and I can tilt from left to right. Get this so the patella is straight at you. And one really nice feature here is I can click this 360 button and it's going to spin this around. You can see I have one little hole in the popliteal fossa region. I'm going to hit the button again and it's going to spin it around so I can fully inspect this. This looks like a really nice scan. All the little purple circles are the reflectors. Okay, and you can see, I'll do it one more time, I have all this artifact. That's the exam table. The scanner picked all that up. I do not need that. So I'm going to go down to the edit button. And you'll see this purple or pinkish colored area pops into the view. I'm going to tilt this down, pull the screen. I'm going to tilt it just by right clicking. I'm going to move that a little bit more. And I'm going to pull this edit screen down, and this is a cutting blade. I can cut all that extra area out. I don't need that. Obviously, I don't need the workbench in there. I'm going to pull this back up, and I'm going to reorient this model. So I'm going to get this straight up and down, and now I'm going to left click and spin this back around. Right click, tilt it straight up and down. Get this oriented correctly, go up to the top, left side, and hit save. Very important. You can see right here it says saved. Okay? And now I want to go through the alignment steps. This allows me to slide it left to right, and this is actually in some of the other CAD steps. We don't need to go any further at this point. This is how you do the scanning process for using the CAD system. Very straightforward. Get a good scan, get it aligned correctly, save it, and move on through the rest of the CAD steps. But this is the scanning process, or one way to do it.